Hey guys, I'm Potates. Welcome to my Vermintide 2 Hero Tutorial Series. Today we're looking at Markus Kruber, who's a human within the ranks of dwarves and elves, but don't let that dissuade you from playing him. He is very lethal. He has 3 advanced classes, the Mercenary, the Huntsman, and the Foot Knight, all of which are fairly different. The Mercenary is your crowd control melee DPS class and does it fairly well. The Huntsman is your ranged DPS class but has a very high skill cap. The Foot Knight is your up close and personal melee tank and arguably the tankiest class in the game. You can include the Ironbreaker there as well, but it is debatable. Now the Mercenary, when hitting 3 enemies in one swing, will grant 10% increased attack speed for 6 seconds. This can be applied to your squad with the right talents, or this can be buffed with the right talents. However, his normal attacks cleave through more enemies, and let me stress, you will be cleaving through a lot. You need to get into the fray and start swinging your massive halberd or claymore and get through those enemies. Clear out the rabble, because that is your job. You'll be clearing out the swarms easily, solo even if you need, very quickly, especially with that increased crit chance. Now if that gets a little overwhelming, you can use your morale boost career skill, which grants you temporary health and everyone around you temporary health, but also knocks down the grunts and staggers special enemies. It does nothing to bosses, but that doesn't matter, because this is all about keeping you alive and keeping that damage pumping out. Next you have the Huntsman. It's your ranged DPS but high skill cap, and I say high skill cap because ranged headshots recover 1 ammunition. You need to be getting headshots with this class to make it viable. A lot of talents also go along with your headshotting, and if you miss, it seems fairly painful, especially because your rifles have a very low amount of ammunition. You get no range damage fall-off, so you can be sniping right back from as far as you need to, and you get a critical strike chance aura. Now this affects you, but it also affects your team, and there are a lot of classes that benefit from this, especially classes like the Shade, which instantly slays man-sized enemies when they get crits, so they'll love you for this. The career skill is Hunter's Prowl. This gets you out of trouble or gets you into trouble, and what it doesn't say is when you pop out of stealth with an attack, it deals considerably more damage. Next up is the Foot Knight. You get a damage resistance aura and you get reduced damage taken. So this aura applies to your squad and reduced damage taken only applies to you, but these 2 stack on yourself. So you'll be incredibly tanky. If attacks can even get through to you because you have increased stamina, so you can just keep your shield up and keep blocking. Your career skill is Valiant Charge. You charge forward and help your squad mate out. This is for getting in there and making sure you're taking the damage from your team, keeping them alive, especially in those high difficulties where this class really shines. So first up, let's look at the Mercenary's talents. Now, Ready for Action increases your stamina regeneration by 30%, and Battle Scars increases your healing effects by 30%. But if you want to go a tanky class, you know which one to go. This class is better off with an increased critical chance, because 5% is quite a lot and it stacks with your already increased crit chance. Increases power by 5% for every nearby enemy and stacks 5 times. Now this gets you to 25% increased damage, and you're going to be around at least 5 enemies a lot of the time, so you'll be slicing through them like absolute butter with this ability. But if you are on those higher difficulty levels, this is particularly useful because being below 25% health won't be too hard, and at least you'll be staying alive and can use this more often than not. I'll get to it very soon. Shrug it off, just pass it up. It's not very good. It reduces attack interruption time when taking damage, but you don't want to be taking damage, especially on high difficulties. Increases power by 10% when Pace Strikes is activated. Very easy, just hit 3 enemies in one strike. This will make it so you're attacking faster and doing more damage. Blade Barrier reduces damage taken by 25%. This is best on those higher difficulty levels, but once again, it's better just not to be hit. Strike Together is probably the one you want to go for because everyone else in your team can benefit from getting increased attack speed too. Critical hits grant temporary health. This is what you want to be going for, and this is why you get stay down, and this is why you build crit gear, because this will make it so you take almost no damage from attacks after getting a lot of hits in. Temporary health over heals you, gives you health over what you already have. So with all of this, this is the way to go. Soldier Spirit, not really that great for Markus as a mercenary. This doesn't over heal you, and you're not really gonna need it because bosses only appear 1, 2, or 3 times in each level. So it's better off just not taking much damage to begin with. Reduces the cooldown morale boost. Using morale boost more often is always welcome, though you can get more health gained every time you use it, but you can also completely change the skill, and we briefly looked at this. Morale boost also revives knockdown allies. This completely changes the skill. Completely changes it. Now you'll be saving it for when your allies get knocked down and activating it to instantly resurrect them. You change the game with this skill. You become the hero. So taking a look at the career skill now, can't really see what it does here because these are training dummies, but usually Markus will yell and say something cockney and everyone around will fall over, so maybe I'll show that in a video, but you get the idea. It regenerates fairly slowly. You can see bottom middle there, the purple bar regenerating quite slow. So let's take a look now at the Huntsman. The Huntsman has a increased reload speed by 20%. Very useful considering some of the reloads are fairly long with the Markus Kruber weapons. However, I prefer on target because you need to be getting those headshots, and reducing the spread definitely helps that agenda. Grants an extra stamina shield if you need to use a lot of stamina, you're not playing this class right. When bosses are killed, Markus gains 30% of his maximum ammo. This is fairly useful because you'll start to find you have a low amount of ammo when you get to a bit where a boss will spawn, and this will bump you back up, which you definitely can make use of, or you can simply do more damage to those bosses and apply a bleed effect. Critical hits cause enemies to take increased damage. It's more that they take a dot. And enemies that grab or pounce Markus take double damage. This is a defensive measure. If you get pounced by a stalker or get life leeched, you'll make sure that they drop fairly fast because of that. Markus recovers 2 ammunition from scoring headshots instead of just the 1. Very, very useful when combined with Scavenger. You pretty much will always be getting more ammo than you're using if you play this class right. Making it look easy. After scoring a ranged headshot, Markus gains a guaranteed critical hit on his next attack. You can make good use of this by getting out a big heavy hammer and swinging it right after you get a ranged headshot. So if you want to combine melee with range, making it look easy is the way to go. Thrill of the Hunt, headshots restore 2 health. If you get really, really good headshots, this can be quite valuable. I'm not there yet, so I haven't found good use of this, but you know, it could be something if you find yourself getting up close and doing a bit of melee as well, so you know, you can make use of this. Critical hits grant temporary health. Very, very useful considering you get critical strike chance aura when you have the right gear built. This is the way to go because you don't need to get the kills, you can just get health from crits. Soldier Spirit is what you get before you get the crit gear. If you don't have the crit gear, this is the better one. Hard their fall, you don't overheal with this, so don't bother. Reduces the cooldown of Hunter's Prowl. Very, very useful considering Hunter's Prowl has a long cooldown and it is a very useful ability. This completely changes the ability though. Recovers 4 health every second while under the effects of Hunter's Prowl. Depending on the difficulty level, you will regen around half your HP. A little bit more for the higher difficulty levels. And this is the oh shit button now, and you press that when you're about to die or when you need to heal. Press it every time it's up, even if you're walking around and you have low HP, just press it. Start healing now. Really, really useful. I'm coming for you. Markus just gets extra damage when he pops out of that Hunter's Prowl, so that's always good. It's definitely between it. Well, actually, to be completely honest, it's a very hard choice. It's between these two usually, but blend in can be very useful in given situations as well. Now let's have a look at the tanky powerhouse, the Foot Knight, and what his talents can do. And as you'd expect, it's all about protection and saving your teammates. So the effective block and push angle increased by 30% when you're holding a shield will essentially mean that you're blocking and pushing people over off screen to the left and right. So you'll be defending quite effectively, and you'll be pushing over everyone within that arc quite effectively with Bulwark. However, increasing maximum health is quite good as well. It'll seem like you're not healing as much because of the percentage based nature of this, but you're healing the same amount. You don't need attack speed with this class. This class is about defending. If you want attack speed, go something else. Reviving party members grant them 50% damage reduction for 10 seconds. This is very situational, but can keep your whole group alive, especially if you're struggling to get through a level on a particular difficulty level. So this is what you get for those very high difficulty levels. This is what you get for the medium difficulty levels. Successful charge attacks grant 40% increased stamina regeneration for 2 seconds. Gain uninterruptible attacks for 5 seconds after block is broken. This is on the easy difficulty. It'll be useful. You don't really need to gain uninterruptible attacks. I would rarely pick this up over regroup and build momentum. Battle drill. Protective presence also grants 2 stamina. It's basically saying you get 2 stamina permanently because you've always got protective presence. Defensive formation increases damage reduction for protective presence to 20%. This is the one you probably want to get in most cases because everyone in your squad will get an increased damage reduction, which definitely helps more than you being able to block more often. You already have a lot of ways to block and a lot of stamina regen. You don't need this. Protective presence also increases movement speed. This is probably the most useful skill. Psych, it is the worst skill that he has. Protective presence gives you 5% move. Why do you need 5% move speed in any case ever? 5% is pitiful. This is only noticeable when you're walking long distances with a group and you can be like, hey, keep up, sillies. This is not a good skill. Critical hits grant temporary health. This is not good for him. Well, the only advanced class that finds this not good. Soldier Spirit. This is the better one, but this seems to be the choice. The harder they fall usually wouldn't be picked up, but this means you'll be able to apply those bandages to your squad mates instead of you, because all you need to do is once or twice in every level when you kill a boss, you'll fully heal, and suddenly healing potions and healing bandages can be applied to your teammates and not yourself, which is your role. You're meant to be protecting your team, and so you can do so with this. Getting into battle quicker, more often is definitely necessary, but you can get an increased damage when you charge, or grant 100% reduction to stamina block cost for 10 seconds. Usually, hold ground is the way to go because you'll charge in there and you'll start being able to perma block for 10 seconds. Usually when you charge in there, you're charging in to help your teammates. So this is probably the way to go. Now to show you exactly what the charge does, let's have a look here. This is the career skill. Say these are the enemies and your friends are in front taking a bit of damage. You charge on in, knock them down, and then you can start swinging while they're knocked to the ground. Once they wake up, put your shield up, knock them back down again. Shields, knock down enemies, then you can start swinging again. Keep those enemies off your team. Now let's take a look at the Huntsman's career skill. You can see a normal amount of damage here. When you activate it, you go invisible, you kind of start sneaking, line yourself up, start doing some damage. You can see here it does an incredibly high amount of damage coming out of stealth. Now I would have popped out of stealth before that, but the training dummy isn't considered to be an enemy. Now let's go through the weapons you can use. The first up is the Halberd. The Halberd is probably one of my favorite weapons in the game. It can sweep, can hit multiple targets, it can pierce through armor with charged attacks, and it is quite accurate, and it has quite a long range around here. So I'm standing about here. Look at that range. That is quite far. The best thing about it is, as the mercenary, you can sweep or you can stab. So I can sweep with a charge attack and hit multiple targets, or I can go for the head. Very, very powerful weapon. But talking about going for the head, this is the two-handed hammer. Now this will almost always swing for the top, but it can sweep with a charged attack, like so, and it will always pierce armor. This is your armor killer. This is the best melee weapon in the game for taking on those armored opposition, and you pretty much one or two hit them. In most cases, if it's storm vermin, you will one hit kill them with a shot like that, which is absolutely nuts. It is incredibly slow to attack though, so you will be taking a lot of damage. Now, let's have a look at the Executioner's Sword. It has sweeping attacks. Very, very sweepy, like the two-handed sword. Will hit a lot of people. Very good for the mercenary. And its charge will overhead strike, which differentiates it from the two-handed sword. So you will be going for those headshots. We'll be going for those executions. Have a quick look at the two-handed sword so I can show you the difference. That is a charge attack. Will be very, very sweepy. You will be cutting through a lot of rabble. Regular attacks don't pierce armor, so you will need to charge. Then you have the single-handed mace. No reason to use this once you get the mace and shield. It will not pierce armor regularly, but with a charge attack, it will. Usually we'll go for the head with this, and it's fairly fast for a mace. Then you have the mace and shield. The shield is amazing. Doing this will knock over everyone in front of you. It's absolutely amazing. Then there is the sword and shield. Very similar, except the sword attacks quite fast. More sweep, more attack speed, less damage. Then you have the single-handed sword. Once again, this will be replaced fairly fast by the sword and shield. Then you have the ranged weapons. Let's start with the Imperial Repeater. This is your assault rifle. Medium range, will pierce through armor, gets headshots fairly easily, has a low spread at medium range, and if you are to hold the right click and then left, you will fire repeatedly until your ammo is run out. This is pretty damn good for the Huntsman. Now, the Huntsman also gets an exclusive ranged weapon in the Imperial Longbow. The Longbow is your sniper rifle. It is fairly accurate even at long range. It'll start to drop off once you get back about here. You'll need to start aiming a little bit up, like so. If you hold right click, after a short delay, you will zoom in, like so. And you can get those headshots. You have a lot of ammo, you can spam it, and you have no reload. So get good at headshots, and this will be the weapon for the Huntsman. However, the Huntsman also has the option of the handgun, which is, I would say, a better sniper rifle. However, very long reload speed. Now you can zoom in, notice the crosshairs get almost to the dot there, so you will be extremely accurate even at those long distances. Get good at headshots, get good at predicting where they're running. If they're running down here, bam, headshot, you will kill almost everything in a single shot. Granted, bosses will just take heavy damage. Then you have the shotgun, the blunderbuss here. This goes through armor. This does an extremely high amount of damage up close and personal. So you might want to use your prowl to get in there, get right up to someone, back of the head, bam, bam. This will be a dead enemy. However, if you notice the spread, it is quite large. You'll be struggling to do a decent amount of damage at range. And as you can see, very low ammo count as well. So just to recap all the heroes, all the advanced classes, the Mercenary is about melee, DPS, and crowd control. This hero will top the damage numbers because you will be taking out all the rabble if you play correctly with the big halberds or big claymores. Your high damage ranged DPS class, the Huntsman, get good at getting headshots and you will be dishing out the pain. And finally, the Foot Knight, the tankiest class, the protector of the group, will be keeping everyone alive by absorbing all of the damage. So that is Markus Kruber. Thanks for watching, guys. I had a lot of fun making this video and I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and click that little bell below. And if you haven't already, be sure to join my Discord. It's full of fantastic like-minded individuals and you get to talk to me directly as well. So I'm Potates and I'll see you next time.